Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about my nose. Now please don't turn off, this is a philosophy video and you will see in a short while why this is a significant topic in philosophy. Just to bring you up to speed, in case you haven't watched these videos before, they're all on my book Philosophizer's Bible. That's the videos in the series Existential Philosophy. We've reached chapter 18 and that means we're over halfway through the book. And it also brings the total number of videos that I've made since 2013 to 42, which is a very significant number if you're a fan of Douglas Adams. So what can I say about this? There's a group of 3 chapters that we're reading now, going through now. This one, Seeing My Nose, and then The Size of the Universe, and Things Fall Down. And they're all on the topic of seeing the world, or the way we see the world, the things that are right in front of us that we don't see, the way in which our habitual methods, our habitual ways of seeing distort reality, or hide it, or make us unaware of, or even incapable of grasping the question. So, what more is there to say? I'm going to read the chapter. It begins with a short poem, and I warn you, I'm not a poet, so you could call this like a non-poem, which I wrote some time ago, and it connects to the previous chapter. Seeing My Nose. The world is a dream. We are responsible for everything that happens in the dream. If anything good happens, it is of no consequence. If anything bad happens, it is of no consequence. Plato was wrong. There is only one world, this world, but we don't see it clearly. We stumble about, blindfold. We tell ourselves stories about ourselves and our situation. We inhabit a world of make-believe, our dream world. Yet there's no escaping the cave, the world of shadows or dreams as Plato thought. We have to open our eyes and see. In a dream, nothing matters, or everything matters equally, from a pin stuck in your little finger to the destruction of the whole world. That's an allusion to David Hume, who said, "'Tis not contrary to reason to prefer the destruction of the world to the pricking of your finger." He was making a point about reason being the slave of the passions. You can't prove anything by reason, and that I agree with that, of course. So those are just 2 different sides of one and the same thought. It is all one. It is all me. And I don't mean solipsism. I mean, I'm responsible for the way I see things. I can change the way I see things, but I have to make the effort. You have to make the effort. There are fracture points. The philosophers of the Academy know well what these are. I've called these fracture points philosophical conundrums. Like the so-called problem of personal identity, which we touched on briefly. Is the persisting self really real, or an illusion, or a construction, or what? Yes, I agree it's a problem, but a problem you're never going to solve. Either I only exist in the now, or there will never be a time, no matter how far in the future, when it is not possible that I will wake up and flicker back into existence. The dream can never end. I actually talked about this in my second video back in 2013, What is Death? Do I die at every moment, or is death impossible? It is curious, worth noting, how the antinomy of the momentary versus the eternal I mirrors the dispute between the Eleatic philosophers Parmenides and Melissus over the nature of it is, in case some scholar of ancient philosophy happens to be reading this. I had to put that in. What the self is in itself is a conundrum. In other places I've called this the idiotic conundrum, because it seems simply incredible that, being a self, being aware of my existence, I am still completely in the dark about what I am, or how it is possible that I can be. Trying to solve the conundrum has all but made an idiot out of me. I realized the truth at last, before it was too late. We are now going to introduce a new thought. Be patient, because the connection may not seem obvious at first sight. I remember for the very first time I noticed that I could see my own nose. I don't mean by looking in a mirror. I was in infant school. That would have put my age at something like 6 or 7. In my mind's eye, I can see the whole scene clearly, even now. I was in the playground. I turned my eyes, and there was my nose. You can look down, see your own hands, body. Your head is almost invisible, except for your nose. Or maybe if you strain your eyebrows or the tip of your tongue, but you have to look. Lacan, in his Philosophy, makes an important observation about the mirror. The first time a child sees its own reflection in a mirror, and crucially grasps that this is me, and what that means, is a momentous event. Because for the first time you have realized, fully understood, that I am just an entity in the world, and other to others who are other to me. From that realization, that understanding, momentous consequences follow. Must this realization happen in a single event of illumination? An irrelevant question which misses the point Lacan is making. A discovery like this doesn't necessarily have to happen all at once. It can take time to sink in. And mirrors didn't have to be invented either. In describing the first time I saw my own nose, I'm talking about something which almost seems like the opposite of Lacan's insight. Its mirror image, if you like. I could see my nose. From then on, my world had changed. When I looked out across the grey-black asphalt, marked with yellow and white netball line markings and hopscotch squares, there were the school buildings, classrooms, assembly room, and there was my nose. Right bang in the middle. Whichever way I turned, my nose was still there. Then I noticed I could see my nose from the right or the left. 2 noses. At that moment I felt a pang of fear. There is something wrong with me. I shouldn't be able to do this, but I can. This was the first time I realized, actually saw or seemed to see, that I was not my body, but rather something located inside this body. As I peered out on the world through 2 holes in my skull, my view was partially obstructed by a fleshy prominence attached to my exterior. I am in here, looking out. What am I then? Where am I? How can I be anything? These thoughts were still implicit, below the surface, in the mind of a mere child, not yet capable of philosophical reflection on its experience. But I would never have remembered this event, and remembered it so clearly that I can still picture it now in detail, if it hadn't made a profound effect on me, on my consciousness of my own existence. What conclusion do I draw from this, or from Lacan for that matter? Am I my body, or am I in my body? The answer to both questions is no. I am not my body, and I am not in my body either. We have already considered the reasons why. I am not my body, because in place of I, there might have been an identical body who was not I. I am not in my body, because whatever is located inside a body is just more of the same, another body. Whether physical or non-physical, it makes no real difference. But that wasn't really the point I was making here. The point is more general than that. This is about seeing, or the things that you can see, or what it is to see something, in that peculiar sense that only a philosophizer truly grasps. There are all sorts of things to see if you bother to look. If you can learn that special way of flicking your brain. To do that, you have to pull yourself away, wrench yourself away from ordinary things, from your emotional and intellectual attachment to the world of things. See, there's kind of echoes of Eastern philosophy there, but I'm not commenting on that. It's an inevitable consequence if you follow this line of thought. The world becomes a dream to those who see it in that way. And that seeing is a true seeing, not because it corresponds with some reality, but because of what it rejects, the notion of a world that has become so familiar to us that it doesn't even raise a question. A world of things arranged in space, a world where things happen, a world of causes and effects, a world that exhausts all there is or could possibly be. Well, this is, I'm simply rehearsing, going through the moves I've already described, which are about acquiring the knack of seeing the world differently. Because that's what you need to do to be a philosophizer. To see the question, you have to see the world differently. And in the next 2 chapters as well, I'll be talking about aspects of the world, or the way we see the world, which can be questioned. And if you practice this, start by trying to see your nose, or whatever, you might get good at it, or you might just be able to do it the way that I've described. I mean, the funny thing about seeing is, obviously we look around us, we see everything we see. You can go out in the morning, as I do in most mornings, most lunch times I go out, and you've walked half an hour before you realise you've never actually looked at the sky. That might seem quite a trivial thing. If I close my eyes now, is there a clear blue sky, or is it blue sky with clouds, or what? And you don't even know, because you didn't look. It's there right in front of you. It's making the impression on your retina, but your brain didn't compute it. It didn't enter your thoughts. And all sorts of things don't ever enter your thoughts that you see. And in order to see, you have to think. I mean, what we see is just a story that we construct. And the familiar world, the mundane world, is just a story that we've learned to accept. And that's the thing that has to be broken down, broken up. And once you start doing that, you're on the road to becoming a philosophizer. Until next time, bye.